He's Notah Begay. He is working with NBC Sports and Golf Channel analyst who joins us from TPC Harding Park. And being a Stanford alum, I'm sure that Notah is quite familiar with Harding Park. One of my favorite. I love that whole area there, Notah, where San Francisco Golf Club might be my second or third favorite golf club course that I've ever played. You got Olympic, and then you got Harding Park. That is a public course. What stands out the most at Harding Park to you?
Well, right now, in terms of how it's prepared, Dan, and great to be with you again. Thanks for having me. Is the fact that it's set up championship style to really test and bring out the best in these players. You know, we talk about this whole distance issue with Bryson DeChambeau and just how long the players have got, Tony Finau, but this golf course, the way it's set up, and I walked out there yesterday, there are some tight driving holes, and if you hit it in the rough, it's a hit or miss whether or not you get a good lie and have a chance to even make a play for the green. So it's going to be a balanced test for the guys. And I mean, they played in 90+ degree heat, 100% humidity. Last week it's 55 degrees and the ball's going nowhere. So you or I would not want to be out there right now, but these guys are forced to be out there, and it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out.
If I said you could play in 50 degrees or 100 degrees, what would you pick?
100 out of 100 times I played in 100 degrees.
Just because the ball's going to go further?
Well, I mean, it was a sore back that took me out of golf.
Oh, okay.
And so any time it gets cold, I get locked up and I lose about 20 to 25 yards off the tee. And it's no fun to play golf when you hit it nowhere, Dan. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't hit it anywhere. And I think, DeChambeau is practicing social distancing with his drives to everybody else's. Is this a bigger jump than when Tiger first came out and he was out driving everybody? Is DeChambeau out driving people the way Tiger did when he first came on tour?
Well, what's really remarkable, if you want to make a comparative analysis in terms of across all sports. So Tiger was always long. Tiger was long as a junior. Tiger was one of the longest in college and was one of the longest when he came out on tour. But what Bryson has done is he wasn't one of the longer players when he joined the PGA Tour. And what he's done with his approach is remarkable. It's like a major league pitcher that gets drafted, goes gets onto a major league roster and shows up with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and then 3 or 4 years later is throwing 100. That's really the comparison. It just doesn't happen. And what he's been able to do, and what's most interesting about it, he's been able to do it without hurting himself. And he seems like he's on a sustainable track. You'd have to talk to trainers to see how sustainable maintaining that much new muscle mass is, but he's done it really well, and he's kind of found the holy grail of golf, which is 20 yards of extra distance off the tee.
How are we not suspicious about that? Because if it was a pitcher who went from 92 to 100, Notah, we would go, But in golf, we don't always add that question mark at the end of somebody when we see a different physique. Like Brooks Koepka, I don't think that when I see him. But if he was in another sport, we might go, He's consistent. Notah, Bryson is, this is pretty crazy. The size and the distance that he's created here.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think the only thing that I could sort of fall back on is the fact that the PGA Tour's testing program in terms of performance enhancing drugs and all that has progressed, and it's at the same level as any other major sports in America. I mean, it's not new. We've been doing it now for a decade, and it's just one of those things where these guys are getting routinely tested. Not only are they getting swabs shoved up their nose every week to test for COVID, but they're getting regular urine samples and all of that stuff to make sure that there's nothing crazy going on. So I just, all that aside, I got to give him credit for doing what he's done and making it work for him.
He's Notah Begay, NBC Sports Golf Channel analyst. Tiger changing his putter, Notah. You've seen that putter as long as you've probably known Tiger. You're loyal. You love your putter, and all of a sudden he's changing. How surprising.
Well, he's not the only one. I think we all love that putter just for all of the the memories and the great moments it's given us over the last 30 years. And I've hit putts with that putter, and I've seen a whole shelf of about 50 different attempts to replicate that putter. And I asked him one day, we're in his house, and he has a big wall with all the clubs that have been made for him over the years. And I go, not one of those 50 putters on the wall was even close. He goes, no. He goes, it just wasn't the right feel. And who am I to question the greatest golfer ever in the sense of what he's feeling as the ball sits on the face and comes off with the truest roll that we've ever seen. But he struggled. You go back to Genesis. He had 4 3-putts and a 4-putt. So he gave up 6 shots to the field and finished last that particular week. And then he comes back to Memorial and missed a series of short putts and struggled a little bit. So he's like anybody else. He's just out here trying to find something that can give him a little bit of hope that he can hole a few extra putts, because we've seen that his tee to green game is pretty solid when he's in good form. And I think he's looking good this week in his practice round.
Yeah, but it's weird. He's got a putting coach, right?
A putting advisor.
but I don't know. It feels like Steph Curry probably doesn't have a shooting coach. But like Tiger is the greatest, you can make the case, greatest golfer of all time, but I guess is some of that just a security blanket that you sort of want somebody there? I mean, do you really need somebody there?
I strongly feel no. I think that you're better off in a lot of cases using people that have been around you. He's got a great friend in Rob McNamara, who has known him since junior golf. He's got a wonderful caddy in Joey LaCava. I think those are guys that would give you a better sense of where your setup is, because golf is so technical. You're talking about a quarter of a degree closed or shut at impact. The ball's going to spray 10 to 15 yards left or right of your target. And you can't get the ball started on line when you're putting. There's really no way you can match up your read with your speed if you're not squaring up the face at impact. So any little adjustments, and we've seen it throughout the years, we've seen players put new putters in their bag that particular week and go out and win. It's just one of those things where you match up the mechanical motion and the setup of the equipment to the player's mentality, and it just creates magic.
You know who I'd go to?
Me.
No.
I'm a great putting coach, Dan.
No. Steve Stricker.
Yes. And Steve's been an advisor for Tiger through the years. They've partnered quite a few times in the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup. And, he will rely on Steve from time to time to give him a little bit of feedback. And where Tiger really struggles a little bit with his setup is just his left hand. It gets a little off, and sometimes he just needs to readjust where his left hand sits to get the club on path.
How many times did you beat Tiger in college?
Quite a few, and over the years it's gotten more and more. But because it's
the older you get, the better you were, Notah.
Absolutely. I carried that guy. So when he showed up on the farm, I put my arms around him and I gave him the Charles Barkley talk, and I said, "Hey, you were going to be the strongest freshman in America." And he goes, "Great." Tried to stay humble. And I go, "Well, it's because you're going to carry all the seniors, because we had 4 seniors and a freshman. You're going to carry all our bags on our trip."
Oh, so you hazed him?
Sport. Oh, absolutely. He was a great sport about it. And finally, Casey Martin and myself were the co-captains of the team. And he came into the hotel room one night and says, "Hey, if I go out and I win a tournament, can I stop carrying these bags? This is kind of old. I'm Tiger Woods." And we go, sure, because he wasn't playing great at the time, and he went out and won the next week, which kind of sucked for us because we didn't get to give him our bags anymore.
Yeah. I've mentioned this before on the show. I have a nephew who used to sell products and deliver. He would go to reservations in North Dakota, and he would come back and he would say, "I know you talk about, hey, the Washington Redskins. People on these reservations don't care about that nickname. They want running water. They want people to help out with alcoholism and addiction, and they want normal things in their lives." Is that like your opinion of what's going on with the Washington football team? How much does it matter to you one way or another, Notah, if they're whatever they're called?
It has a huge negative impact on the perception that Native American people have about themselves. And I agree. There's a lot of people in my community that have sort of wondered, why is this an issue? And I tell them it's an issue because of someone like me who came from the reservations and always felt slighted in a lot of situations. You walk into a job interview, you walk into one of these, very prestigious golf clubs, and there's a different feel. And we're trying to break down those stereotypes. We're trying to break down those misconceptions about who we are as Native American people. And we certainly don't want to be mocked, and we don't want to be held to a lower standard. And I think, for my children and for many of my friends that raise their kids on reservations, this is a good step because they can look up and see that there are people out there that are advocating for a better perception of who we are as people, and to be a little bit more respectful of everybody across the board. I think in this whole mission to produce a more equal viewpoint amongst all Americans, it's important to include all Americans.
And I know you started a foundation because I was thinking about you, that COVID has really ravaged some of these reservations here. And I think you've said publicly that you might lose family members because of COVID.
Yeah, I have lost extended family, people that I see at Christmas gatherings and Thanksgiving meals are gone. One of a really very close friend of mine on the Navajo Nation, who I grew up playing youth basketball, who grew up across the street from me in Window Rock, Arizona. His grandma and my grandma lived across the street from each other. Both he and his brother, he's my age, he and his younger brother died on the same day from COVID-19. So it's hit very close to home. And it just kind of highlights the lack of infrastructure in our communities across the board, whether it's healthcare, whether it's first responders, and the ability to respond to this sort of health crisis. It's impacting the death rate amongst Native American communities is 20 times the national average. And wow. It's a tough place, and we've got a long uphill climb. And I don't want people to forget about us as we continue to try and lift ourselves back up, because we are a proud people. We're capable. It's just sometimes you're up against something that's a little bit tough to overcome.
NB3 is the foundation. It's a COVID-19 response fund for Native Americans. And also, he's creating the Notah Begay Junior Golf National Championship as well. Live from the PGA Championship. It's must-see on Golf Channel. The winner of the PGA Championship will be who?
Brooks Koepka.
Oh, wow.
Dan.
I didn't even get to finish.
Yeah. Sorry, there was a lag there in my signal, but yeah, I was already answering you before I got out of your mouth. I mean, that's how we're connected, Dan. I'm finishing your sentence.
Wow, we're like a couple now. I like that. So Brooks Koepka, if I gave you Brooks Koepka or the field?
I take Brooks in a heartbeat. I just think he's trending, he's edgy, and he's going for there's some cool things happening this week. There's Brooks going for 3 consecutive PGA championships in a row. There's Jordan Spieth trying to pull himself out of a slump, but if he's able to do it, wins the career Grand Slam. And then Tiger Woods going, obviously, for number 16 major in his career.
If it was Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, arm wrestling.
Oh, man. Arm wrestling, I'd probably take Bryson right now, but in a wrestling match, I might take, like, WWE style in a ring. I'd take Brooks. He's a lot meaner.
Maybe we see that this weekend. It feels like Brooks is not afraid to tweak Bryson DeChambeau a little bit there, Notah.
Hey, he's not. And there's an idea for a podcast, PGA Tour players in the wrestling arena. I mean, I may just submit my entry.
Oh, no, in the octagon.
Yeah, that'd be even better.
Tiger wouldn't do well in the octagon? He's got too many surgeries, right?
Yeah, he's a little banged up. I think he'd do more running than wrestling.
Maybe 2005. Have you ever seen Tiger in a fight?
But he did get robbed in a parking lot at Stanford one night. So I don't think he fought the guy, because I think it's a serious thing. He did get robbed at knife point, which was an unfortunate incident. But he recovered. Nothing happened. He was good. And he's gone on to do some pretty good things.
I still maintain 2000 at Pebble Beach is the greatest golf performance in the sport's history.
Oh, by that whole year, Dan. I mean, we won't ever see any golf like that ever again. I mean, at least in our lifetime, just the run of quality on those venues, historic venues, Pebble Beach, St. Andrews, and then he capped it off with that amazing win over Bob May at Valhalla, which was just something that I was glad to be a part. I played in all three of those events, so I was pretty lucky to be there.
How many strokes did he beat you by in the U.S. Open at Pebble?
Oh, we had to go there, didn't we?
Sorry.
We had to go there. Well, let's just say he beat second place by 15
Oh,
shots.
I know.
I was well back of that.
And knowing Tiger, he might remind you of that. Just if you bring up I beat you in college, he would probably remind you of a couple other things there. He could humble you quickly, probably.
Yeah, he humbles me, but I got a couple. There's two in my hip pocket. So in 1994, we won a national championship at Stanford as a team without Tiger, and then we replaced our worst player, our fifth man, with Tiger Woods, and we had 4 returning seniors the next day. We were the bona fide number 1 ranked team in the country in 1995, and we lost in a playoff. We finished second. So I always hold over his head that he made us the worst team when he arrived to Stanford, and that I graduated with my degree in economics, but he didn't graduate. But then he always comes back, and at the time, but now it's different. He used to say he has 4 masters, but now he has 5. So
his master's degree.
His master's degree.
Hey, it's great to talk to you, and have fun this week. We'll be watching the golf there. Thank you again. Always a pleasure.
I will, Dan.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
That is Notah Begay.